Welcome back to this Patreon first episode of Across the Bifrost. I'm your host, Dr. Norbert. Still a little woozy from Amazing Weekend, a 2-day event that we ran here in London, which was namely the Dark Sphere GT, one of the official AMG GTs. And as part of the Patreon First series, we are bringing you the winner of the overall event. So with me today is Will Benson. Will Benson was originally from England and in the London meta, but has since moved to Barcelona. Welcome, and thanks for coming on the show, Will.
Hey, thanks for having me.
It's so good to have you here. To help people, before we get into the matches and so forth, let us talk a little bit about you. Tell us a bit about your gaming background.
My gaming background, my goodness. I played the classic stuff when you were a young teen, like Warhammer and things like that, as a little bit of a fan, I suppose, for a few years. But then I only really picked up tabletop gaming seriously. I say seriously. When during lockdown, I noticed myself probably drinking a little bit too much at home, and I thought this would be a good outlet other than drinking bottles of wine, watching TV. So I picked up some Warhammer models again, did some painting, and then I started to attend Baboon Cafe, which is where we attend locally now for Marvel.
Yep.
And I saw yourself, Norbert, doing some, I think, intro games or some tournament on a Saturday, and I love Marvel stuff, so I saw some games going on, asked if I could join in, and that's the only thing I've played ever since. I've played nothing else.
Amazing. Oh, that's so good to hear. I'm so glad you caught us that particular day. That's such a fateful moment. But I think you're also a chess prodigy, aren't you?
A chess prodigy? No. I used to play a lot as a kid. Quite a lot. I never got that particularly good. I'm good enough to beat people that don't play comfortably enough to claim that I'm good, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. But I have to say, having interacted with you a number of times, first of all, you're very forthcoming with advice, even to your opponents at the time, which is amazing sportsmanship. But you have such an incredible strategic sense and insight as to the game state and what's going to happen and so forth. Your confidence is just amazing in that regard. So that's why I expected you to be playing chess quite heavily to develop that kind of talent.
Yeah, there's definitely some crossover. It depends on the style that you play. I definitely try to play more a value-based game, which I think is quite a common trend amongst most of the people that do well at these tournaments, where you're trying to ascertain the level of value you're going to get from each action and potentially attribute that in the context of Marvel to points, right? Even in an attrition mindset. So am I going to, with this action, score future points or limit my opponent's points with these actions? It's a very, very common mentality that you'll find in chess.
I see. Okay. Yeah. It's because it's all about trading pieces in chess. And in some senses, it's the same here.
Yeah, or not, which is the important part, as well as deciding when not to, is just as much as when to.
Yeah, cool. All right. So the event that we're talking about, as I mentioned, is the Dark Sphere Grand Tournament. This is one of the official AMG GTs, which was run by my co-host and myself, Jamie. And what's interesting about this one is that we've locked into this really interesting format that people seem very receptive to, which is on day one, we do 4 games in a Swiss format. And then we break up, in terms of their placings, we break up that group from the first day into pods of 8 players, and then they do 3 rounds on the Sunday. And so this way that you kind of get a little bit of a reset between the 2 days, so that you're starting to compete only with people who are of the same kind of win record as you, and gives you a chance to kind of win a pod as opposed to having 1-0 if it's just a plain old Swiss one. It also conveniently lets us run 7 rounds, so everybody gets a maximum number of games over the 2 days, and on Sunday leads to a clean result for each pod, since we play 3 rounds with 8 people in the pod. And of course, with your record, you were in the top pod, so we will be able to talk about days 1 and 2. So can you tell us a little bit about what convinced you and some of your Spanish buddies to come up to the event?
There were 3 main parts, I will say. The classic one, which is the colourful dice, which a lot of people go to these events for. But more importantly, It's quite an easy sell. I feel definitely in the European community anyway to say that this is an event being run by Norbert, and now Jamie's really picked up the mantle as well in the UK. So everyone knows it's going to be a well-run, fun event. So it wasn't hard to convince them. And actually, the pod system that you mentioned, like having the different pods on day 2, was a big selling point, I feel, to them, because they had the mentality of, right, I'm going to take something that maybe is definitely more optimal, but potentially less fun to play, and see how well I can do day 1. And if you don't get into the top pod or whatever you're aiming to do, you can easily switch to something just more fun on day 2, or you stick to something good to try and win your pod. And for example, one of the guys that I brought with me on day 2 started to run a list of all the 2 threats and Punisher.
Yes.
Because he just wanted fun, just wanted to have fun, which is what this format enables as well. It's not just about the chance to win stuff, it's also the chance to play something a bit wacky and fun in a slightly competitive environment.
Yes. Yeah. So what you're referring to is, of course, I failed to mention that we allow roster switches to happen between days 1 and 2. Yeah. So that's what he was able to do. Oh, that's so nice to hear. I'm glad he took advantage of that. That's great.
Exactly.
Okay, so we're going to talk about the roster that you built for this event and your thoughts about what went into it, and then we'll do highlights from the 7 matches along the way, and see how we go from there. So, for people at home who want to take a look at these rosters and the results, the first event is on Longshanks is 23639. And the second day for Pod A, which Will was part of, is 26897. All right. So let me call up your roster now. And I'm pleased to say it was an Steve 1 Avengers roster, which is great. Gives us a little bit of a change of pace. And you know what? I think you said it to me, Will. I feel like people think that right now the top dogs in the meta are Inhumans and Apocalypse, but not far behind them is maybe 6 or so different affiliations that are just nipping at their heels. And Steve 1 Avengers is one of them. Is that how you feel?
Yeah, I think so. And I would say Steve 1 is probably near the top of that second pile as well. And I'll talk about it a little bit later, because there was a lot of Inhumans at the event. But yeah, they definitely have some really strong, easy to pull off plays in Humans. And Apocalypse is strong, but it really becomes top tier when it's piloted by someone really strong. It's not an easy thing to do right, which I like, which means it's similar to what Webs have always been, where it allows for top tier skill expression to make it look ridiculous, but it's just as much to the pilot as the roster itself, which I think is very healthy. And it becomes still good in average players' hands. I think that's a sign of a healthy roster. I think there's maybe some issues with Inhumans, but we can talk about that as we go through the games.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so let's run down your roster, and you can tell us what your thoughts were building it. So the roster is Black Panther 1, Cable, Captain America Steve Rogers, so that's Cap 1, Captain America Sam Wilson, Dr. Voodoo, Hulk, Shang-Chi, the Mighty Thor, so that's Lady Thor, Toad, and Gorgon. And the tactics cards are Avengers Assemble, Reserve Members, Second Wind, Wisdom of the Ancestors, Battle Plan, Chi Mastery, Patch Up, Brace for Impact, Survival, and Recalibration Matrix. And then lastly, the crises were Intrusions, Scoundrels, Wedding Party, and then Deadly Legacy Virus, Skrulls, and Inhumans deploy advanced weaponry. I have to say, this is a roster that looks very familiar to me as well. I cribbed a roster from Seth in Norway, who ran this to some good success because I wanted to try it out. And I had a ton of fun with this build, and I'm sure you go into why. I've had to abandon it since then, only because I'm trying to practice for being part of a team event mostly. And so there's a lot of, it takes a lot of characters away from all the other factions, because it can. And so it's not so friendly in a team environment unless you're really stacking a lot into the player who's doing Captain America, Steve 1. But anyway, with that in mind, I'm just mentioning that so the audience knows that I've actually experienced this, piloting this as well, although not to your success, of course. And so that we can have a nice conversation about this. What drove you to do this in the first place? Why'd you go with Steve 1?
It was a mixture of things. It was what was in my bag when we were leaving Barcelona.
Okay.
The typical stuff. I haven't played an awful amount of games with Avengers. I think I've played like maybe 20 games ever. But it's just fun because you get to do cool things with cool models before they're supposed to be able to do it. And it coincidentally is rather strong at the same time. But it just allows for more use of the fun things that people like to do with their models. That's the way I try to see it. And yeah, it is fairly strong as well as a leadership. I definitely wouldn't say I built the roster at all. It's I think it's sort of self-building in the most part. There's only I think 3 splashes in the list, which are like 3 of the best characters for their threat ranges, which is Toad, Gorgon, and Mighty Thor, and they coincidentally have superpowers that love to be reduced in cost. Yeah, and then it's most of the best Avengers, under Steve One in particular, but just the best Avengers thrown in as well.
Yeah, I agree. So for people at home, I mean, I'm sure they're probably really, but for the sake of completeness, Steve One's leadership is the key here. Steve One's leadership says that when you use a superpower, you can reduce the cost of it by once per activation.
Exactly.
Yeah, which means, by the way, that means that during your opponent's turn, it can also be used as a reduction of cost once.
Exactly, and most of the models, not all, but most of the models take advantage of that. So they get to double down on the value the leadership provides.
Yeah, exactly. So there's a good point right there, Will, is that you've chosen characters, although they're good in many respects. One other aspect about them is they have reactive superpowers that can be used during your opponent's turn that are easier to do when they're cheaper, in addition to when you're actually activating and wanting to use them in a more of a offensive manner.
Exactly right, and clearly they specifically they cost 2 because the value only comes from them costing 2 or more. Obviously, it doesn't reduce superpowers that cost 1 to 0. Otherwise,
Right.
that would be super fun, but maybe a little bit bonkers.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so you've chosen Steve One for that reason to switch all these characters on. Tell us some of what's your core. Even let's start there. What do you find yourself using mostly?
I tell you what, over legitimately, it changed so much, which is what is really fun about this list. It's a little bit of a Swiss Army knife, and you do really get to think. I've often played things previously that have got really solid calls, and you just add maybe 0 or 1 characters. I'm traditionally an attrition player, so like playing all the horrible stuff like Thanos Cabal, which builds itself at every threat level. Whereas this one, you really do get to bring a variety of things for different opponents, different secure setups, different terrain. Terrain's a big factor in it as well. I think I brought obviously Steve and I think Sam every game. I believe, maybe apart from one where I'll talk about it. But yeah, apart from one game, it was always Steve and Sam. Sam's just incredible. And I think for most of the games, Mighty Thor is in there as well because she's just an insanely strong 5 threat and even better under Steve being able to charge turn 1 and reroll defense dice for 1 power, all the fun stuff.
Yep, that tracks. Definitely Steve One and Lady Thor are the ones that I see I used all the time for sure, and then made other points. I'm a little less keen on Sam Wilson only because I'm less experienced with him, and you need to be able to. He's got so many different options because of his toolkit. Yeah, knowing which one to use and how to use them is the part that you needed to get practice with, and I didn't have the time to practice when I was using this roster.
Yeah, he's so fun to play, and it can backfire sometimes. Maybe you go for the charge turn 1 and you're like banking on getting the ricochet so that you can then airlift before moving again, but if you get it off, it feels so cool doing it, like charging, attacking, pulling someone onto a point and then going onto their back point. It's some really cool stuff you can do with it. He's so fun.
Do you ever use his leadership?
Hadn't this tournament, and I don't think I've ever used it. However, I think if the meta was slightly different, there would be more of a call to use it. But I think you would have to also build the list with that in mind, that you're open to flexing to Sam.
Okay, gotcha. All right, so this is definitely not tuned for Sam.
I would say definitely more Steve. You could put some of these models in, definitely, but it's definitely more attuned to Steve.
Okay, cool. What do you use for a safe grab or semi-safe grab?
I really even safe grab. If I really want a safe grab, obviously Hulk can do it, but it's a high threat cost for it. And if you really want a safe grab and Hulk's not in there, Cable can do it as well. Mm-hmm. But I often find the need for a safe grab is less in this meta because there's less hard attrition to punish you for not having a safe grab, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. We're not in the Asgard meta or the Thanos Cabal meta where you get kidnapped if you don't have a safe grab as much. Yeah. But it has the option to safe grab if you're in a position where you feel it's useful. And I did do that one round when I played Cabal in this tournament.
Yeah. For me, Shang-Chi and Black Panther were always the choice I was trying to decide on adding in there. Both of them are very strong, but they do things quite differently. How do you feel about that?
Yeah. I always feel like generically Shang-Chi is better. He just does more things, I feel, and he's more useful in a variety of situations. Mm-hmm. Panther is insane at hunting down toads. So if you want to get a toad off the board early, because the move, the pounce, they can't slippery off the damage of the pounce, then you get an attack into them. They're only 4 health on the front side. Now, it's really likely to kill them. So he's excellent if you know your opponent's got priority and they're going to do a toad thing turn 1. He's excellent at hunting them down turn 1 and potentially flipping back the extract favor in your side.
Yeah. Okay. What I never knew when to use is Cable. He's 5 threat. He shoots hard, but I never understood when to actually field him. What do you think?
I played Cable once in this tournament, and I've played him a couple of times in the same ones where it was, what's the crisis called? Wedding Crushers, Wedding Party targeted in terrible attack. Yeah, where you've got the 2 isolated secures on either flank. And when that's combined with Inhuman weapons, where it's like the 2 extracts literally either side of the secure, so it's a completely split map, he's excellent at just buddying up with Steve and creating like an invincible bunker where Steve is bodyguarding and rolling 8 dice, counting blanks if he's flipped, whilst Cable's throwing terrain and killing most things next to him. Mm-hmm. That only came up once over the weekend. And I only played him the once in that case. He's definitely one of the more least played in the list, but he does have his place. If you find yourself potentially in a position where he can just partner up with Steve and hold down, 3 points between them, 3 victory points per turn between them, then it can be worth it. Depends on how many points there are on the board.
So Steve is there to keep Cable alive, and Cable's just blasting people?
Blasting people, and Cable makes Steve roll 8 dice, counting blanks, like Steve becomes invincible.
With his shields.
He adds 2 dice, and Steve raises his own dice, and it's pretty nasty. Displacement hurts them, so you also have to take that into consideration. If they've got loads of displacement, then it becomes weaker.
Then I see Hulk and Gorgon. Gorgon, I feel, is a great kaiju killer, or a controller, let's say. But Hulk can do the same. How do you decide between the two of them for that role, or if use them differently?
I think Hulk is. Yeah, he can disrupt kaiju and potentially kill them, and Gorgon does the same. They can both kill them if they've got enough power over the game, but they're more disruptive than killy, I would say. Yeah, it really depends on the matchup, and if you don't mind being taller or you want to go wider. When you're going wider, then you have the chance to bring Sam and Gorgon instead of Hulk if you don't mind being taller, and Hulk's got more value in a closer space to disrupt, so you don't need 2 models. The one model can do it. Then Hulk's probably more favourable. But Gorgon is just nuts, and with reserve members, and there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 leaders in this list. Gorgon with reserve members is just absolutely bonkers. He's got
we're going to get to
builder.
Go on. Sorry.
Yeah, it's like his builder becomes 6 with a wild stun, and stun in this meta is excellent. Against, there are some Asgard players, but particularly in humans, like stunning Black Bolt early on is great. And for once a turn on his attacks, he becomes a 5/4/4 for a 3 threat that has a bodyguard, a charge for 1. And he has that big spender with a wild throw and stagger, 8 dice physical, 9 dice if you're in reserve member range. He's a little bit overtuned for a 3 threat, so I thought I'd take advantage of that.
Yeah, I agree. And he's a load of fun to play as
fun.
well. Yeah, he's good.
Super fun.
All right. The last one of interest here is Dr. Voodoo. When do you slot him in?
I didn't play the whole weekend. He's there. I hadn't had much practice with his roster. I thought he might be good against Inhumans, but I never used him against them. And he's obviously really good against webs. So he would be jammed in there if there's a webs playing. You can go Voodoo and Shang-Chi, and webs hate both of them. Yeah. Unfortunately, there was only one webs player, so I didn't get to do that.
Yeah, exactly. All right.
But
makes sense. And now, interestingly, though, his ability to get you to drop extracts by paying the cost of your threat it is not helped by Steve One's leadership, correct?
No, I don't think so, no, because it's an X leadership.
Yeah, X power cost.
Powers. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah. So, I could see now it isn't so much about taking advantage of Steve One as much as it is about hunting down webs.
Yeah, he's more of a silver bullet for the roster, yeah.
Okay, cool. So let's take a look at the team tactics cards. And so some of them are very common, but let's go into reserve members. This card is just amazing. So for people at home, it's really fun. It's just fun. So basically, reserve members is a card that you put on a non-Avengers character, non-affiliated character in your team. And as Will mentioned, if you are within 2 of another ally character with a leadership ability, active or inactive, and that's the key part. So it could be basically anybody who has a leadership, regardless if it's being used or not. Then this character adds 1 die to its attack or defense rolls and can only be used once per turn. And with Gorgon, for instance, it's super cool because he gets a reroll for being an Inhuman, and then this would give him another reroll as well, so that those triggers go off.
Exactly.
And as you mentioned, there's 5 different leaders in the list, so he's going to be near one. Yeah.
Exactly, and just in general, like 4 of them are Avengers affiliated. So you're always going to have a few leadership carrying models on the board. It doesn't have to be an Avengers leadership; it can be any active leadership. So he's always going to be in and around to take advantage of it. And there are so many candidates for it. Like Baron Zemo's excellent with it. I had lots of fun one time playing Howling Commandos with it. There's lots of flexibility with it. You can really do some fun stuff.
Yeah, definitely a card that's I feel is almost stapled to this roster, just because it's so good. Okay, Avengers Assemble. Everybody knows about Second Wind. Is that the one where you remove conditions?
Yeah, you pay 1 for any Avengers can pay 1. You remove a stun. You have to remove just stun, and you remove a damage. But there's just lots of stunning models around, and stun can really hurt Steve because he runs out of bodyguards and he runs out of being able to raise the shields if he's only taking 1 a turn. And if they're double tapping him, he won't have enough for the next one. So I find it's fairly good. You don't want stun on models if you're playing an Apocalypse as well. For the sake of 1 power in particular matchups, it could be good.
Yeah. And along that line, then you also have Battle Plan, which is where Steve Rogers spends 3, and then Steve and any ally characters within 3 of him could either remove a special condition, a damage, or place within one of their current positions. So, do you take both of them at the same time then?
No, I didn't even take second with this tour. I didn't really find a use case for it. But Battle Plan I took quite often, particularly against Inhumans players if I was trying to play slightly taller, because Gorgon staggers, Black Bolt can stagger. They've got lots of options to do some quite impeding conditions on models. And Steve being able to walk over or take a portal, for example, heal everyone a condition. Or a lot of times I was using the place 1 to get into Avengers Assemble to catch people off guard because they think, well, they're out of short to be able to contest this. But with the place 1 on top, you can catch some people out with it, and you get some unexpected VPs with it. So it's quite flexible. It costs a lot. 3 is a lot,
Yeah.
but spending 3 to remove a stagger on Hulk or Mighty Thor can be really valuable.
Absolutely. Other cards are all pretty straightforward. I would just call out Wisdom of the Ancestors, which is a Black Panther specific card, but basically he gets to count skulls for the round, and it is just amazing. It counts skulls regardless of attack or defense rolls, so it's just fantastic. Yeah, and dodges too. Yeah, that's right. Thank you. What would you say though would be your typical 5? What are your go-tos?
Patch-up and Brace was pretty much always in there. Avengers Assemble's always in there. If Gorgon is played, Reserve Members is there. If not, I would change that to... It depends on what you're bringing. The 3 that are always in there is Patch-up, Brace, Avengers Assemble. If you're playing against Staggers, Battle Plan is in there a lot. If you're playing Shang-Chi, you always bring Chi Mastery. If you're bringing Panther, you always bring Wisdom. Recal gets played sometimes. But there's a core 3, and then dependent on the models you bring, you pick the ones associated to them.
Yeah, agreed. And which is makes life a lot easier, I find, in the current meta of MCP, or just the way the rules work. You can. The way I do it is I look through the affiliated cards, pick the ones I like from there, and then I look at all of my characters I picked, and I pick the ones from there. And there's very little left over space wise, and so that's fine. You know what I mean? It makes life a lot less stressful when you're picking.
Exactly. And with this roster, I think it's the most I've ever thought about what models to bring to the game. So the last thing I want to do is then also think about tactics cards. They sort of fit themselves.
Yeah.
There's one less thing to worry about.
What is patch up for though? I mean, obviously it heals people, but I mean, why so often to use them? Aside from Hulk, you don't have a lot of... Well, Lady Jane, I guess.
Lady Jane can go down quite deceptively easy, and she's got a big enough health pool to take advantage of it. You know, if people have 6, it's quite rare they get left on 1, so you don't get advantage of it. But with 8, she can take advantage of it. Hulk can obviously take advantage of it, particularly if you're playing like multi-pickup extracts like Summers. Then it keeps Hulk in there. There is probably a shout to play Sacrifice more. Probably. It's just a preference thing. Sacrifice is probably the better pick, but I like Patch Up.
Yeah. Who's your battery? Who does the patching up?
It completely depends. If Sam can often find himself with loads of power if he isn't having to spend the people off points because the push isn't enough. It could be Hulk going over to someone to patch. If you're playing Hulk and Mighty Thor, Steve often wants to keep his power. Shang-Chi can sometimes have a lot of power. It really does depend. There's no single person that's going to be the guy that runs patch up this game. You sort of have to flex around it.
Yeah, I agree with that, but I do think that Sam Wilson tends to start accumulating quite a bit of power.
If you're throwing off 2 shield throws a turn and stuff.
Yeah, and then he moves long so he can get to the person he's trying to heal quite easily. So, yeah. All right, cool. Awesome. Let's take a look at these crises now, because I find that in MCP, the crises are practically as important as the characters that you choose. I mean, they're intertwined, essentially. Intrusions, of course, is the 3 across the middle horizontally, so a very brawly type of scenario. Wedding Party, you could make an argument, is the same thing. It's just that it has two secures across the horizontal midline. And then you got something entirely different, Superpowered Scoundrels, which is 5 points, and you get cover unless you're standing, if the attacker is standing on the same point as you. Tell us, so you said you're a brawly type of player. This list is meant to brawl, I imagine, so Intrusions and Wedding Party is not hard to understand, but maybe you could talk about which other ones you didn't consider and why you chose then Wedding and Intrusions, and then we'll come on to Superpowered Scoundrels.
So Wedding Party is like a full brawl, and it allows you to isolate flanks. And with Steve having bodyguard, and then you can have some really self-sufficient models on the other side, you get a lot of value of being split up. There's no massive synergy in having everyone within range of everyone, which some rosters do like or prefer that. So you can find some isolated flanks to bully on Wedding. Intrusions is just a really good midline brawl, and all the models in the list like to brawl. It's a complete mid-range, right? So they like to brawl and they like to score. And they're happy to take a beating because they can give beatings back. And overly average on their endurance per model, I would say. Almost every threat level in the list, so they don't mind standing on midpoints, taking some beatings, and opponents are typically more scared to come into their threat.
Right. Okay. But so a pay to flips makes sense. You don't want to spend power trying to flip them because you're trying to beat people up. But what about some of the other brawly ones? Like a classic would be like an Infinity Formula.
Yeah, this is also a reason I'm going to save this for the scoundrels part. I want high threat values. I want to bring as much threat value as possible. I also knew that if I'm playing against Inhumans, they're always going to pick their extracts. So I want high value secures, so I get to pick a high value point. So they don't just get to bring their classic 17.
So what is your ideal threat? Where do you like to play?
I like 20 or 19. Both really good. 20 or 19, yeah. 20 gives you the option to bring in Hulk and Mighty Jane. You could do it at 19 as well. But the list can go either 5 wide, I would never go 6, but 5 or 4 at both of them really, really well, depending on who you're against.
Yeah. Okay. So Scoundrels, that's the answer then? It's not so much about the points, it's about the threat value.
Yeah, but also because it's mid-range, they can easily outscore. Sam and Steve ignore the cover. And Sam can then push people off points from a distance. And your other models have the ability to get up close quickly and ignore the cover because they're contesting the point with them and beat them up. Okay.
Got it.
You're scoring fast because this roster isn't there to like table people. But if you score fast enough, you can easily get your opponent in a position where you've got a turn of just dazing everyone and you just get an unassailable lead.
Right. Okay. Then going on to the extra side of it, we have Deadly Legacy Virus. This is another very low scoring point crisis, also right down the horizontal middle. So that's very brawly, and that's fine. Scrolls is essentially the same. Obviously, has some differences, but that's the same philosophy. And then, honestly, Inhumans deploy advanced weaponry is the same thing again, very similar to Scrolls in terms of its layout and the low points.
Yeah, exactly. And I actually made a mistake in this because Scrolls should have really been hammers, but I'm happy I brought Scrolls anyway. The idea of this as well is because there's so many humans running around, there isn't any back point extract for them to steal with Quicksilver if they ever, for some reason. But the issue is they have to have priority with it. But there's no, even if they wanted to like Great Refuge up a Beast and then steal and go back, or an equivalent model like Quicksilver, it doesn't allow for that. But Scrolls, for some reason or another, I thought wasn't a civilian extract, and it is, which obviously allows for Terrigenesis. So that was a mistake on my in the 20 minutes I spent like putting all the cards together to get on the flight. I overlooked that. So that could be something else, to be honest. If you're really scared of humans.
But you like it because it's low scoring, but also 20 threat. I guess that's what attracted you.
Exactly, a high threat, not 5 VPs, and doesn't allow for multi-extract pickups, which I don't like playing against because there are some affiliations that like that more, I would say. Even though Hulk's very good at it, there are some affiliations that probably prefer that. Yeah.
Okay. What about then like Montesi formula? It's a high threat. It's not civilians.
Montesi would have been an excellent option instead of Scrolls. Excellent option.
Okay. Got it.
Excellent option. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Inhumans deploy advanced weaponry is 18 threat, so that's quite good. And you mentioned Fear Grips is another option. That's also 18 threat, so I see where you're heading here. Okay. I'm just taking a look. Where Scrolls, Inhumans, that's 2018, and then you chose... Deadly Legacy Virus is 19. Okay.
19, right. Yeah. Virus is a really good one for this team. I love playing Virus with Avengers,
So what is any particular reason?
It's low. It's low VPs. It's only 3, and it's 19 threats. That's the reason. Yeah. It's like the perfect combination.
Right. Okay. So when you win priority, then what goes into your thinking when you decide whether you want secures or extracts?
It's what I'm playing against. So with if you're against Inhumans, you pick your extracts, assuming that you're not an idiot like me and you don't have a civilian one like Scrolls in there to avoid the Terrigenesis.
Okay.
Because it's so easy to set up and you just start the game effectively 2 VP down on like 70 or 80% of the times they use it. And then it completely really, really does depend on who you're playing against. I typically instinctively go for my secures if I'm not playing against Inhumans. But it's so variable based on not just the affiliation, but the roster they've brought, because there's quite a few permutation of rosters knocking about at the moment.
Yeah.
Like, I would probably go, I don't know. Yeah, there's too many ones. Like, if I'm against Kingpin, I would go my secures and just hope I don't get Scoundrels, because they're really good at that.
Right.
It really does depend. It really, really does depend.
And I guess you're really trying to avoid pay to flips.
I hate pay to flips. Yeah. Even if I was playing a team that's good at pay to flips, I don't like playing them.
Yeah,
I don't like them. I don't like them.
They are not recommended if you're a Salt Lord. That's for sure.
Exactly.
Okay, cool. I think any other thoughts about the roster build before we move on?
No, I can take no pride in the building part. I took the experience of all the much better players on Longshanks and just put something together.
Yeah, exactly. Totally get it. All right, let's get into the games then. As I mentioned, we will. I'll mention all the basic stats of each round, and then you can give us some of your highlights. So, your first round was against Thomas. He was playing Kingpin Criminal Syndicate. The crises were Skrulls and Scoundrels. You lost priority here, but won the game. Ooh, a nail biter, 21-20. Exciting. Oh, and it was 20 threat.
Yeah, Thomas is a young lad, super nice, and a complete and utter shark. I thought, excellent, round one, got someone younger I can ease into the weekend. He's very, very good. He's very good. In fact, he should have won that game, if I'm being completely honest. He made one little mistake at the very, very end that allowed me to squeeze out a win. Highlights of the game. Sam isn't very good against these models because they've all got high physical defense, and it's really hard to push them off the points. Obviously, we flipped Scoundrels in this case. I played Holt, and Holt probably was a mistake because, well, no, it wasn't. Holt's really good on Scoundrels because he can get around 3 points and if he's got enough power, leap, do a spender, Avengers Assemble, go back, throw someone back off to a point, go to a midpoint, and then push them off. So he is actually quite influential on one side of the 3 points if you include the center for both. Yeah, it was a very, very close game.
Yeah, Thomas is actually, I'm pleased to say, on my WTC team, so I'm feeling...
Oh, you're in good hands. Honestly, he's a prodigy. He's really good. Yeah, he's super nice. Really nice kid.
I agree. He was rocking. He came to a local tournament in London. They don't come very often, him and his dad, but they do occasionally. And he came in with a filthy Guardians list that just blew up the world. Oh, it was awful. It was so bad.
I passed him. Yeah, it's like a smiling assassin, right?
What round did this go to? I'm just curious about the 21-20.
6, I think. 6 or maybe 7. I think it was 6, but it could have been 7.
Man, it seems like a scrapper that every round counted.
Scrap. Lady, it was just back and forth between some good dice and some bad dice. Like Lady Jane, one turn killed everything. The next 2 turns did 0 damage. You know, it's classic stuff. His Rhino did no damage for the game, and then did a Rhino thing where everything just materializes and kills 2 people, throws a size 4, kills a 3rd person, and then robs the 4th. But super fun game. Cool.
Round 2, you got a win. Oh, and you're going into my other WTC teammate.
I'm doing the rounds.
You're mowing through my P-mates. This is Andrea Severia. He's the Crimson Bear. He has a blog about Inhumans that he talks very deep tactics about. You should look that up. And which I forgot now, sadly, the name of exactly, but it's on his own website. And he's on Discord. And he's playing Inhumans for ages and has a slightly different take on Inhumans compared to most players, which is really cool. So in this case, it was you won priority, and the crises were Inhumans deploy advanced weaponry plus cosmic invasion. I'm guessing that you're the one who pulled the extracts in this case.
Yes, yeah, right, 100%. Yep.
And it was, only 16 threat. He went really low, but you won this. Another squeaker, 18-17, Will? What the hell?
Yeah. There was something. It was a very close game, mate. It was a close game. I think the game was sort of wrapped up in the last turn. I think I was at 15 points and he was at 11. So I just did 2 runaways to the back point, and he did really well at, getting it that close. Actually, he did a really, really good job of turning around. A little bit of misfortune on his side, and some I would say tricky plays from my side. He also got unlucky not getting priority within humans, which seems to be like 20% of their win rate comes from going first.
Yeah.
He plays it completely differently, though. He's not scared to do things that are against the standard play patterns.
Yeah.
I was talking to quite a few of the Inhuman players over the weekend, and a lot of them saying it's actually getting fairly boring playing them, because it's very played out, standardized play patterns. If you go first or second at different threat values, the thinking only really comes in, from in unique scenarios or from round 3 onwards, because the play patterns are so predetermined based on the models that you bring.
Yeah.
But Andre plays in a completely different way, which sort of took me off guard. Like hyper aggressive, sort of gave up a lot of early points, probably to a fault in this game potentially, but really had me on my back from an attrition perspective. But again, a super nice guy, super nice guy.
Any standout characters in particular that you didn't expect? If you recall,
not really. He played the normal ones, just played them in a much more aggressive way. Like throwing Gorgon right up their turn 1, I believe, and doing some nasty stuff on a charge, and same for Karnak. Like Karnak's the typical round 1 battery into round 2 impossible to kill thing, and then round 3 you finally daze him, and then he turns around and does some weakness tokens and 8 dice builders. He just played him like, I'm going to just throw him up there and do some damage, and he did.
Yeah,
if I recall correctly. Yeah.
And do you think he went with the 16th threat because he has a good team on that and just wanted to limit the tools that you could bring?
Yeah. I think Inhumans are always going to try and keep the threat between 18 and 17. They're never going to pick the higher one if it's against a roster like this. He 100% picked the right threat value. If he picked 18, it would have been, without priority, it would have been a bit nasty for him. If he had priority, he would have picked 18.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
What did you take on 16? Do you recall? Because it's just a weird number.
Oh, I definitely took Panther because I knew he was going to play Toad at 16. Panther, Steve.
That's 8 so far.
Yeah, Mighty Thor, and I think potentially Gorgon as the other 3. Oh no, Sam. Sam, because otherwise he wouldn't be affiliated.
Nice one. Interesting. So that's just still, even at 16, you're fielding a mighty roster already, team.
Yeah, Panther did work that game. Panther did work.
Okay. Game 3. This is exciting. This is the one you lost, spoilers, on day 1, and it was against probably the second best player in Ireland. And he's going to love me saying that. This is the great Mike Porter. Mike Porter was also playing Inhumans. This time he won priority. I'm going to assume he picked the extracts, and so it's scrolls. And then you luckily got Scoundrels. You played on 20 threat, but you lost this one 17 to 13. What happened?
So yeah, you're right. Mike is in. I had not heard of Mike. I don't really go over to the Irish tournaments as much as I should do. He is a fantastic, super nice guy. Again, everyone I play is super nice. He's a fantastic player. Like his long shanks rating is a complete fallacy. He is an insanely good player. I lost this due to a lack of experience on my side and picking the wrong list. Even at 20 threat, I played. I should have even potentially gone 6 wide when I said at the start. You never really go 6 wide. I tried to play a hyper attrition list with a list that isn't hyper attrition at all, thinking that I'm never going to be able to balance out the advantage he has of going first with Quicksilver, stealing one of them, and actually, it was Scrolls, so he couldn't steal one of them. But I just felt I couldn't, for some reason or another. I probably had a little bit of a bias because I read stuff online about humans, and I just thought he's going to get an unassailable lead, and I have to go on the front foot aggressively rather than trying to out-control him. So I picked a list that had Hulk and Mighty Thor and Steve 1, so that's like 14 already. And then I think it was Toad and it was the fourth threat, but I think I bought Panther instead of Shang-Chi, which was a mistake as well. I just made lots of mistakes in my roster building, and he completely punished me for it. Trying to do damage with Mighty Thor into Gorgon, which, you know, it isn't really guaranteed to do much. Trying to go after Black Bolt with Hulk, which is, I don't know what I was doing. I was really annoyed with myself, excuse me, in the middle of the game, because I was like, what am I doing here? I'm just playing this completely wrong. And he definitely deservedly wins. That 13 points is a real, it hides my blushes a lot. It should have been like 17-2, really. Completely outplayed.
Cool. Wow. All right. Cool. But so he was playing classic Inhumans. I was saying it's just that you kind of zigged when you zagged when you put your team together. Am I hearing that right?
Yeah. I put a too aggressive a team down on the board and then played them too aggressively when I should have stuck to the mid-range stuff that I knew they were good at and tried to do more of a chip attrition while scoring rather than go, right, I'm going to give up so many points to them on just to try and get an attrition lead, which is just not how the roster's designed to play at all.
Was he scoring? Was he scoring a lot of the extracts, or was it because there's so many secures on the table as well that he was getting up on points?
I know he got, his typical MCP dice. I think he got quite early days on, I think it was Panther on the left or something, from something that was a little bit unexpected that led to not turn 1, but turn 2 having 3 against my 1. And then Black Bolt did some horrible Black Bolt stuff to Sam on the other flank, where he managed to Great Refuge, do 3 damage with the builder, which is actually worse than 4 damage because then he can Mighty Punch, whatever it's called, within 3 of Sam to then knock him off the point or daze him, and he gets that point, whilst Gorgon was behind, taking the back point behind him, or another character, I can't remember which one. So he played it really well, doing classic Inhuman stuff, and I got punished in that game.
Cool. Excellent. Right. So we're now going into the 4th round and the last one of day 1. And this is against one of the local London players, Angus Hamill Stewart, who has a podcast, which is Rapid Fire, along with Cuddle. You should listen to that. They do battle reports. I'm certain he'll do some battle reports from here. He's also one of the most creative people in MCP roster building today. He does some wild stuff. Not all of it works, but a lot of it does. And he is playing to one of his faves, I think. He was playing Red Skull 3 and Cabal. And here you won priority, and the crises were Legacy Virus and Wedding Party. It was 20 threats, but you won this rather handily at 18-9. Which crisis type did you choose?
I chose my extracts, I believe, in this one, going first. Yeah. I chose my secures, apologies. And then his extracts, they were very, very similar because he was playing a sort of middle of the table brawly list. With Loki, I hate playing against Loki. So annoying.
Loki 1, we're talking about, right?
Loki 1. Loki 1. Where it's like the value of Loki 1 comes from making me think more than the actual character being good in itself.
Yep.
Particularly against Steve, because all of this stuff that is normally online after the power phase isn't online if you're in range 4. So you have to really think, and then you outplay yourself. It's actually really fun to play against. It's annoying but fun because you have to think of different things.
He's like a hard counter to Steve 1's leadership, isn't he?
If he can stay alive, yeah. The issue is he doesn't stay alive that long. That's the only issue. I think in that game, Mighty Thor did some dirty work on him and managed to get rid of him. I think at 20, this was the game I played Cable. So I was playing Cable, Steve 1, Hulk, Mighty Thor. And Hulk and Mighty Thor took the left. Steve 1 and Cable took the right after Cable doing the safe middle virus pickup. Yeah. And then you've got like this unkillable bunker on the right with 2 extracts and a point, and he took the first extract on his activation on the left, and Lady James can just steal that off whoever took it by killing them quite handily. It was a bloodbath, a complete bloodbath in that game.
Yeah. It seems like it. But his roster is built to kill as well. Is it just that it was just too hard to pierce through your bunkers?
Yeah, I mean, he was definitely playing some more spicy stuff that probably brought less value than the models that I were bringing. Less so about any sort of skill expression. I just think I bought slightly better models. He bought Zemo, Werewolf, Loki, Red Skull 3, and I can't remember who else. That's not 20, is it? Oh, Wrecking Crew. Wrecking Crew.
Oh, of course, he loves them.
Yeah, some really spicy stuff. He did very admirably with it, and he's opened my eyes to some cool stuff you can do with Wrecking Crew. Actually, he plays them really well. But yeah, I think I just more than anything bought just better models on paper.
Right,
nothing to do with any sort of still expression.
All right, cool. So 3-1. You ended up in let's see here. Oh, all the way down in 5th place. There were a lot of big players. Wow. But solidly in the top bracket, which is exciting. Any dinner plans? What did you do with your evening?
Oh, the most English thing ever. I went to the park and drank cans. That was it. I don't know if we actually skipped dinner in the end and just drank instead. But that was it. That was my refreshing night before the big tournament, just getting pissed in a park. I'm sorry, I shouldn't.
Just like old times.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Did you change your roster from day 1 to 2?
No, I didn't change it. I didn't have space in my luggage more than anything. But
but maybe the crisis changed it into occur to you.
No, I didn't. I didn't bring the. I was thinking of bringing changing scrolls, but then I thought, well, if I get punished for it, I get punished for it, and I'll learn my lesson rather than changing it.
Oh, okay, cool. Great. So let us go on to then your rounds for day 2. Again, we're playing 3 different rounds here, and the first one is oh my goodness, this is great. In fact, I remember seeing this when I started my games. It was a rematch against the great Mike Porter, but spoilers, this time you've kind of learned your lessons against him because let's see, you won priority this time. It was Scrolls and Infinity Formula at 17th threat, and you won 17-7. Whoa, what happened here? Man, this is interesting.
So firstly, we were laughing because Mike's very realistic about the state of the humans at the moment, where if they get priority and they basically they start the game with a 3-point lead, right? Because they've got Terrigenesis and a Quicksilver Steel online. So I was like, I need to win priority this time. So I managed to win priority and then realized, wait, yes, Scrolls is a civilian token. I guarantee we pulled the pot. Obviously, we got Scrolls. He chose 17, and I learned my lesson of let's just play for something that can maintain as much parity as possible. And in fact, the first 2 rounds we won, we were up by 1 VP in each round individually, whilst doing that chipping attrition game plan, the way I look at it, so that and exactly as I thought, he sort of played out, where we were doing lots of I was doing lots of chip attrition whilst managing to keep the scoring up, to then set up a round 3 where I daze everything as much as I can and create an unassailable lead. So I think end of round 3 it was like 15-6 maybe, or something like that, and then you just run away in round 4 so they don't get their big swing back turn. It's just too much of a lead to do. I did get lucky round 1. I dazed Toad with a 5 dice shield throw from Cap. I couldn't pick up the extract, but that definitely helped maintain the parity, at least for the first couple of rounds. But I learned my lesson. Which was a really fun experience, actually. Everyone sort of maybe complains about mirrors, but it was really fun to instantly go into the game with the same person and manage to take the lesson learned and not wait for the next tournament to do that.
I agree. That's why I think it was a really interesting match. And, and it's not to say he was at a disadvantage. I mean, he had the same opportunity as you, essentially,
Exactly.
Yeah. Do you, when you go in against the humans, how do you manage a Black Bolt? Do you tend to try to kill him, or do you ignore him?
No, I try to displace him as much as possible, and ignore him where I can, and then save the days for the turn I want to make the lead, because he's only 6 or 7. I think he's only 6 on his front side. Then goes to 10 on his backside with the
Not 9, I think, but
a 9, something like that. So he's much easier to daze, obviously, when he's not been dazed before. He's much easier to daze than to KO. So I try and ignore him as much as I can. Sometimes that's much harder to do, particularly if they do an aggressive Great Refuge and they get him like double tapping things. But I do just try to displace and ignore, and then save that low health pool for the turn I want to daze him with the rest of his team.
Okay. So Valerian is your next opponent. This is round 2. Valerian actually is a Steve 1 aficionado, and so it's quite interesting that he decided to come to this tournament with Green Goblin Spider Foes, which is cool.
Cool.
He won priority. The crises were Legacy Virus and Infinity Formula, and the threat was 19. Which crisis type did he pick?
He picked his secures, so it was his Infinity Formula, my virus, so I got to pick the threat at 19, which I like, and I like virus. It was an interesting game. Sam
I didn't mention the score. Sorry. You won 19 to 12. Go on.
19 to 12, yeah. It was, Sam did so much work. Sam is just a menace. He was playing quite aggressively turn 1, where he was trying to steal back points off me, or displace some models that were on my back point through whatever way, and Sam being able to charge in, getting the ricochet off, then go to his back point whilst airlifting the person that he displaced back onto the point he was originally is such a big point swing. Sam did so much work that game, so much work. And the issue with Spider Foes is they're just full of 5 dice physical spenders, and Sam can eat a few of those before really going down with rolling 5 physical defense. Sam was excellent in that game, really excellent, and he was managing to hold his own with Shang-Chi on the left, and that allowed the big nasty stuff. I think I took Hulk Steve, 6, 12, 16, and I think it was maybe Gorgon on the right, and they just managed to take over the right, and I created a disparity between the points where I took the extra legacy virus to the right and created a bunk of scoring those, what would it be, 4 points a turn to his potential 3, and just carried that forward.
Okay, cool. Right, so here we are in the final, and I'm very pleased to hear that your last match for the overall win was against another person who came from out of the country. So this is Tom Dalton, a good friend of mine from Ireland, a lovely guy, and playing Inhumans yet again. This time he won priority. The crisis was unexpected guests and intrusions, and you won this one 17 to 11. Tell us about this, because it seemed really tense. I saw this game go quite long comparative to your other games.
Well, that was the longest game. I'm normally I don't spend much time thinking about my turns, and I usually play attrition teams, so I either lose really quickly or win fairly quickly. So this was the longest MCP game I've ever played. It was the full 2 hours. So the terrain helped me in this one a lot. So I picked my side because he had priority, and I was looking at it, and I didn't want to measure it. I didn't want to measure it because I didn't want him to see that I was thinking about this. So the way the guests were set up, I could see that there was a piece of terrain more than one away from where the guests would be set up on my right-hand side. So I was thinking there was a chance here that Quicksilver, the movement stick, won't be able to fully get over the piece of terrain, so he'll be kicked back to outside of 1, so he'll either have to make an unsafe grab, a really unsafe grab, or spend the rest of that activation going backwards, which can be wounding to have that, because he doesn't bring, can I borrow that? Because his assumption is I'm going to take an extract and run away with Quicksilver for the rest of the game, so I don't need to bring a tap to his card about stealing an extract. And luckily that worked out. So on his first early pass of power, to Quicksilver picked up one of his extracts with Karnak doing the typical battery stuff. And so I picked up the one on the left. Fingers crossed. I was fairly confident about the mental image, but you can never know without measuring it. We even remeasured where the extract was because it was so close. And he was just out. So I took that advantage where they don't get to do their gimmick turn 1, and sort of snowballed with that throughout the game. So it was fairly close. I think it was 4-3, then 4-3. Then he got a Terrace Genesis off that equalized it. And then the last 2 turns, there was a bit of not so much of a scoring advantage, but that chip attrition got to that sort of boiling point, and you daze everyone, you pick everything up, and then it's just a lead. I think it was maybe 15-9 or maybe 14-9, and the lead is just too much for them to come back from.
Right. Okay. Why did the game take so long then?
There were so many micro measurements to think about throughout the entire game. It was literally a battle of millimeters for both sides. And every model on the board, for some reason or another, had so many options of what they could do. But my Gorgon got off quite a few stuns early off. So with a less dense pool of energy, you have to think even more about what you're going to do with these models. And he got stuns off on me inevitably as well. So it just, every model was they're limited in power, which really weirdly creates less obvious options you have to think of, because they can't just do their big spender or their big fancy plays. So you have to really think how you're going to optimally make use of the threat of the character you're using, which leads to different pathways that you might not necessarily have thought about. So you have to really think. It was a super fun game. Tom is a excellent player and a great sport as well.
Yeah, I agree. It doesn't mention the threat value. Do you recall what threat it was played?
Oh, we were playing, he picked 19, definitely. I would have picked 19 for intrusions, yeah. Definitely, yeah, it was. Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Well, congratulations. That was an amazing run for you to win your top pod. And give us some reflections about the roster. In particular, I need to start asking not only what they can do, but what is it bad against? Like, how do people should play into it?
I think the classic part of mid-range teams, which Avengers definitely fills, is when there are hyper-optimized teams that either do scoring incredibly well, attrition incredibly well, but more importantly, scoring. I didn't play any against any webs, and I'm terrible against webs in general. And I think they would have a bit of a torrid time against a good webs player. So I was lucky to dodge them. The person I brought over with me, Rodrigo, is a really, really good webs player, and I've never beaten him with this list. Okay. Never. I think it's just as much me as a player. I just can't get my head around how you do them in. I think webs. I think X-Men, if they're piloted properly as well, maybe do even more tricks than humans and can create bunkers of leads. But I do stand behind, I think they're probably the third or fourth best affiliation in the game. Probably third behind a well-run Apocalypse and Inhumans at the moment, if I'm being completely honest. They're just full of high-value, easy-to-play stuff.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. But are you suggesting then what they're not good at is people who not try to kill them, but instead try to score and run away and keep away from you, basically?
Score really quickly, yeah. Score really quickly and are quite hard to get that early chip attrition on, which webs are. You often have to spend extra actions or extra powers to get to damage through early on, which stops your train of little trickles of energy every turn from doing chip damage. I mean, Lady Jane is excellent to it, and I think I had a good answer in being able to bring Voodoo and Shang-Chi against them. But I can't beat them when I play them, so I'm just got a bias against it. And I think X-Men would be the same. It could be difficult, but again, it completely depends on the pilot. I think most affiliations in the game can beat every other affiliation. It just depends on the pilot more than anything, which is a great image of the game. Yeah, I think it's in a really balanced state. I think there are maybe one or two instances of problematic cards, not even affiliations. Yeah. Everything else is really balanced, and it allows for full skill expression. There's obviously the ones at the bottom that are harder to get good results with, but you can see we had a Dormammu in that top pod. We had a Green Goblin, Spider Foes in the top pod. We had a New Mutants in the top pod. I think the game's in such a great state at the moment, and I absolutely love it for it.
Totally agree with you. Couldn't agree with you more. A lot of the top dogs get a lot of exposure, and I think people get the wrong idea of where the game state is as because of that volume of noise. Really, we're talking about just minor dips above the curve. Yeah. So yeah. So then we celebrated by going to a thankfully air-conditioned pub next door and had some delicious pints that were really needed at that point. That was so fun.
Definitely. Yeah, no, I really enjoyed myself. It was great to see everyone from London again. It's the best group of MC players in the world, I think.
Oh,
for the social and competitive side. It's great fun.
Yeah. And I learned my lesson, though. So there I am with your friends. Again, you're all from Barcelona coming over. And I discovered recently how tasty, especially in hot summer days, Cruz Campo beer, lager is, okay? And so I mentioned that to the guys there. I'm like, I'm going to impress these guys. Look at the Spanish beer I like. And they're like, Cruz Campo? No.
From the south.
No, exactly. These guys are Barcelona. And I was like telling them about how Seville beer is so wonderful. They're like, you need to be drinking Estrella Galicia. And I was like, oh, now I get it. Okay.
Don't talk to anyone in Barcelona about beer unless it's Maritz or Estrella. You'll get told off. Definitely. Same for Madrid. It has to be Mau.
Which is the one in Madrid? Which is the popular one?
Mau. Mau is Mahou.
Oh, okay. I don't know if I've had that one actually. Interesting.
It's really good. Really good. If it's draft from Madrid, it's excellent.
Yeah,
it's €1.50. So it's even better.
But yes, I'm definitely a fan of Estrella, not just because they called me out on it, but Estrella definitely is a nice beer. I didn't know the difference between Galicia and Dam, so I need to explore that.
Yeah. Well, Galicia is a region in the north. I don't know why they call it Estrella Galicia. They must claim it's brewed from there, but it's definitely a different taste. Both are excellent.
Yep. Okay, cool. All right. Thank you to you again, Will, and congratulations. It was lovely seeing you and spending so much time again together after being away. But also thank you to all of our patrons. It's wonderful. Your support has been very encouraging. It also allows us to do these kinds of interviews, and we want to give you that reward of supporting us by giving you this hot information right off of the back of these tournaments as soon as possible and before the public can hear it. So thank you very much for your support and for listening. Until next time, cheers and happy gaming.